Here's an interesting survey. 17,000 people from 36 countries all around the world were asked, where would you most like to live? And the answer is this: the top 20 countries, Australia ranks third, but check what every one of these most desirable countries has in common. They're all Western, they all have a strong Christian heritage, they're all democracies, and all, dare I say it, have strong ethnic European or white demographics. Plus, of course, they're rich, which is a consequence of Western culture. And you contrast that with the stories you're told of how whites are racist and Western culture is racist and Western nations are oppressors and, oh, capitalism. The fact is that Western culture has created civilizations that people around the world would love to join. And that is why those same Western countries now face mass illegal immigration from the rest of the world. Immigration at such levels that it's changing the character of some of these Western countries. France, for instance, now 10% Muslim, mainly North African. The West is attracting so many people who actually change it from what it was that attracted the people in the first place. And what then are the people who always lived in these countries? What about their homeland over in Europe? Or, well, look even at the United States. Under President Joe Biden, there are now about 20 million illegal immigrants. More than 2.5 million illegal immigrants crossed the Mexican border last financial year. And not just from Latin America, but from Africa, and now even from China. Nearly 40,000 in the past year, as America's 60 Minutes has just reported.
Just after sunrise, we saw the first group of migrants make their way from Mexico through a gap between the 30-foot steel border fence and rocks, ducking under a bit of razor wire and into the United States. We were surprised to see the number of people coming through from China, nearly 7,000 miles away. Careful, watch.
Joining me is Sean Spicer, the former White House press secretary for President Donald Trump. Sean Spicer, thank you so much for joining us. So many Chinese illegal immigrants now joining this flood of people crossing your border with Mexico. What is going on there?
Well, my guess is that they, like so many others, recognize that there's an open and porous border, with Mexico that we share. And that's the concerning part, Andrew, is that you have to wonder why. These aren't Southern migrants moving their way up. We've got them from India, from Russia, obviously male Chinese military-aged men trying to come in. I guess it makes sense if your goal is to infiltrate the United States and you know that the door is open, so to speak. But it's concerning to me that that shouldn't be the priority of both parties, right? The Democrats here in the United States are looking to negotiate on that. National security shouldn't be something that we have to negotiate over, whether or not we're letting in Chinese, military men from China, whether we're letting fentanyl or other suspected terrorists, shouldn't be a partisan issue. And it's sad and pathetic that we have to trade to get national security issues like that addressed.
What is it that's so hard about closing a border? It seems to me quite extraordinary that it's so porous that you get 2.5 million people crossing this border with Mexico in a single year. I know it's long, and I know you'd have to deploy a lot of people and build more fences, but seriously, how can it be that porous?
Because we have strained resources. We let people know that if they get in, that they can stay. The thing that I find fascinating about this is that we have ports of entry, right? Border crossings that are staffed and manned by U.S. personnel. And yet we see these people who are claiming asylum not go, through those ports of entry. They're climbing over fences. They're going through rivers and such. And my point is that they were really trying to follow the process. We have a process and ports of entry that you go through. They're clearly not doing this for a reason, because they know that this administration will let them stay. We're having stories of people staying in hotels in New York, to the tune of really nice hotels. We're talking about handing out gift cards to them and phones. And I mean, we might as well have a big blinking sign that says, come on in, here's what you get for arriving. At the same time, we're not treating our own citizens, our veterans, in a way that's acceptable. But I mean, the answer is, I think when the word gets out that you're welcome to come in and that it'll take you potentially up to 9-10 years before your case ever gets heard, if you choose to show up, why would you go through any other means to do this? But like I said, the fentanyl crisis alone should be one thing. The number of people who are entering who've been on our terrorist watch list should be another. These reports of Chinese men of military age should be another thing. But yet that doesn't seem to concern the folks on the left who believe that this is something that we have to trade for or negotiate over. And that to me is something that I never thought I'd see in my lifetime.
I guess it coincides with this idea that to be nationalistic is racist and Trumpian and all that kind of stuff.
But Andrew, that's
the left seems to put
there's folks on the left that believe that. But I have come to believe that this administration recognizes that it's more than a philosophical thing. They truly do look at this as potential future voters. And there's, when you walk through the process, they want them to come in. They will give them legal status. They give them temporary work right away ability. And yes, then they start talking about a path to citizenship. It is laughable to think that that's not the plan. And I find it, for those folks in America who don't see what's going on, I feel like I don't know what else you could do to show them it, because it's not philosophical about, there is a subset of folks that believe that. But the vast majority of these folks do it for purely political reasons.
Well, millions of votes are quite handy if the Democrats can count on them. So maybe you're correct. But Sean Spicer, speaking of Trump, there are now sniping articles asking where his wife is, Melania. Why isn't she by his side campaigning, family rift, all that kind of stuff? There's her daughter Ivanka too. What can you tell us about all this?
Well, look, I think if you go back to 16 and 20, she picks her moments. She goes out there. She's obviously very supportive of him, number one. Number two, she has a son that's still in school, Barron, and I think she has always prioritized being a mother to him. If you're going to have a dad that's out on the campaign trail, it's nice to have another parent that's there, and that's the role that she's always cherished and made it very clear that that's her first priority. So I think we will see more of her. Like she did, she picks her moments. She'll come out on the trail. The president addressed this a little while ago, saying that, after a lot of the abuse that his kids had to take, that he wanted them to maybe dial it back a little and pick their moments. But you see Don Jr. out there very forcefully on a regular basis. Eric Trump has been out there as well. So it's, I think that the media is always looking to find something.
Yeah, I guess so. And some of the abuse of Barron, his youngest son, I thought was just absolutely outrageous, including from a couple of Democrat politicians, I think, who had to apologise for it. But it's so brutal. I don't think a lot of people realise how brutal it can be, and that there are humans at the end of it. Sean Spicer, always great to talk to you. Look forward to catching up with you next week. Thanks for your time.
Thanks, Andrew.
Well, that didn't take long. Jenny Leong, the Greens MP, who said the Jews are everywhere, they're tentacles. When they rock up to meetings, has now apologised. She didn't know octopus was an anti-Semitic trope, and she didn't quite, well, I don't know. Maybe she didn't know that, but I tell you what, the Jews are everywhere is poison enough.